In the heart of America's mighty industrial Middle West, between Ohio and Illinois, lies the Hoosier State in this land of ours, the state of Indiana. From the time the first white men set foot on Indiana soil, she was destined to have a rich and exciting history and gain an important place among the states. In the southern part of the state, near Gentryville, Abraham Lincoln spent his boyhood years. In the log cabin which stood on this site, young Abe would lie before the fire and study far into the night to satisfy his innate hunger for education. The old swimming hole, which inspired James Whitcomb Riley's famous verse. At Vincennes, on the banks of the Wabash, stands the George Rogers Clark Memorial, expression of the people of Indiana to honor this gallant soldier. Known as the Washington of the West, Clark's victories over the British played an important part in the award of the Northwest Territory to the United States. Indiana's capital and largest city is Indianapolis, located in the exact geographical center of the state. The hub of the business district is the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, rising to almost 300 feet. An elevator carries visitors to the top for a view of the city. Indiana was admitted to the Union in 1816, and 9 years later, her capital was moved from Vincennes to Indianapolis. The present capital was built in 1878 of native Indiana limestone, for which the state is famous. Indiana is essentially a manufacturing state. Its Calumet district, including Hammond, East Chicago, Whiting, and the key community of Gary, ranks as one of the world's greatest industrial centers. Iron ore from the Great Mesaba Range of Minnesota is shipped down the Great Lakes to be transformed into tons of raw steel, backbone of our present-day civilization. Indiana's fourth city is South Bend, on the south bend of the St. Joseph River. Pride of South Bend is Notre Dame University with its 1,700-acre campus, the world's largest. The university is widely known for its schools of business administration, law, and science. And of course, Notre Dame has long been synonymous with football. It was here the immortal Newt Rockne coached the Fighting Irish to gridiron fame, developing systems of football which have been adopted throughout the nation. At Bloomington is Indiana University, famous for its courses in music, for its schools of law and medicine. Its greatest boast is that 75 of its alumni have become college presidents. Another of Indiana's famous universities is Purdue, located at West Lafayette. A land-grant college, publicly controlled, Purdue lays stress on engineering, and in addition has almost 3,000 acres of farmland for experimental work in agriculture. Industry and agriculture are equally important in Indiana. More than 3/4 of her land is devoted to agriculture. The prevalent type of farm, the small general farm devoted to raising a variety of crops and farm animals. Corn is Indiana's #1 crop. Almost 1/4 of the state's farm acreage is planted to this important grain. Scientific methods of planting and growing have created a yield per acre that is far above the national average. Indiana has almost unlimited limestone deposits. From these quarries near Bedford comes top-quality building stone for use in the construction of buildings and skyscrapers. Indiana limestone has been used in many of the nation's greatest buildings, including the Mellon Institute in Pittsburgh and the Empire State Building in New York. For vacationing pleasure, nature has endowed Indiana with hundreds of lakes. And for vacation thrills, speed boating. Few sports surpass the excitement of skimming over the water at breakneck speed. Always a favorite Hoosier attraction is the Indiana State Fair, held each year at Indianapolis. Farmers from Indiana and surrounding states exhibit their prize-winning hogs and cattle. And one of the favorite attractions, the sulky races. One of the most popular of all sporting events is the annual 500-mile Memorial Day Classic, held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. At this 2.5-mile track, perhaps the most famous speedway in all the world, 150,000 spectators watch crack drivers pilot some of the world's fastest racing cars. To the winner, fame, fortune, and this trophy. To the loser, sometimes death. And so we have seen Indiana, the Hoosier State. Rich in historical lore, it was here that George Rogers Clark, pioneer and soldier, vanquished the Indians to open up the Northwest Territory, where Abraham Lincoln spent his boyhood, where James Whitcomb Riley created some of America's finest verse. Her capital and largest city, Indianapolis. A state of diversified manufacturing. From its giant industrial Calumet district come thousands of tons of important steel. Prominent agriculturally, from her soil comes an abundance of the basic grains. Indiana has more than her share of top-flight universities. Indiana U, Purdue, and Notre Dame, home of the Fighting Irish. Indiana is often called the playground of the Middle West. Once a year at Indianapolis is the 500-mile Memorial Day Automobile Speed Classic, with thousands of spectators visiting this thrilling event. All this is the Hoosier State, the state of Indiana, one of the nation's most important industrial and agricultural areas. With rich historical background and varied tourist attractions, Indiana is one of the most interesting states in this land of ours.